everybody, I'm Amanda with DevExpress, and welcome to today's webinar, Increasing Productivity with CodeRush, presented by Chief Scientist of the IDE team, Mark Miller, and CodeRush evangelist, Rory Becker. This is the second webinar in our introduction to CodeRush. In this tour, Mark and Rory will show you how using CodeRush along with Visual Studio can take your productivity to new levels using advanced refactorings, deep declare, the unit test runner, features for ASP.NET, HTML, MVC, Razor, and WPF Silverlight developers, plus duplicate code consolidation. Also, they will answer questions at the end of this session, but you can enter your questions at any time in the questions section of your control panel. Now, before we get started, DevExpress would love to know a little bit more about all of you joining us today, so we do have a poll question for you, and here it is. What is your level of experience with CodeRush? You can select one or more of the following: a regular user, you have downloaded the trial and are currently evaluating, or you're an expert. I'll give you just a sec to get your votes in. Awesome. And there we go. Great, so about 86% of you are regular users, about 14% of you have downloaded the trial and are evaluating, and 5% of you lucky people are experts. Great, thanks for your valuable feedback, and again, thanks for joining us. I will hand things over to Mark and Rory.
Thank you so much, Amanda. Rory, you want to say hi?
Hi, guys.
Rory, we do not have time for those kinds of delays in this session. Okay? We need fast response. All right, here we go. Yeah, we're packing a lot in, so without further ado, we'll jump in. I will show you my solution here, and I just want to kind of give you a look around my IDE. I've taken out all of the buttons so that you can see more on screen. Over here I have a number of projects. One is a console project, and I've got an MVC project using ASPX views, an MVC project using Razor views. I've got test projects for both of those, and I've got a WPF project. So we're going to kind of jump around through all of these. Down at the bottom, I've got a plugin that we wrote that we use for demos called Keys, which will show you the keys as I type them. Here, if I hit the up arrow, there you can see me hitting it, and there's the down arrow, there's the right arrow. You can see every key I press. That's useful in case you are watching this in a recorded state. You can say, wait, what was that? And you can go back, or if you're watching it live, you can go look down here and see, wait, what did he just do? And you can see that down there. I have a few templates to help me out, like this / ACR2. This is just going to expand something, some sample code for us, so we can go in and work with it. So we'll go ahead and start with that. We're going to start talking about deep declare. We've talked about this a little bit in the past. We also talked about the CodeRush key, control plus backtick. I've remapped that to num0, so whenever you see this in the code, you'll see probably me hit num0 down here. One other point is if you see something that looks like this means a template just expanded. So that means I just hit the space bar and the template expanded. So let's talk about deep declare and consume first declaration. Here I've got some sample code here which converts an integer value to a suit, and you can see here that it looks like I'm trying to create an enum, but the enum hasn't been built yet. So I can just come down here, hit the CodeRush key, choose declare enum, and then it builds it for me. It scans through the code. The deep declare looks not only where I am in the cursor, but around in the surrounding areas as well to get better information about the code I want to generate. Let me hit escape to jump back, escape jump back to the next bit of sample code. Down here I have a method called getRandomCard, and it returns a card. I'm creating a new card. You can see here that the card doesn't exist yet. It has not been declared. I'm calling that toSuit method up here, getting that suit, assigning it to this property I'm calling suit. I'm also calling random next 13, assigning that to value. And let's just continue to write some code down in this area right here. Let's go down here. We're going to say I want to create a new deck, and let's go in here and pass in the number 52. Maybe we're going to come in here. We're going to introduce a local variable for it. So we'll come in here and we'll say call this card count, for example. And then we'll come over here, hit the CodeRush key, choose declare local. There's my new deck. Come down to the next line, and we're going to call shuffle on the deck. And then we're going to come down here. We're going to say new card dot insert into, and we'll pass in deck like that. So we've written some code here that doesn't compile yet. Let's go ahead and build the pieces we need. Let's go and put the caret on the word deck. Hit the CodeRush key. Choose declare class with properties. Notice there's also a declare class available. The distinction between the two is declare class with properties is available when the constructor has parameters like you can see here. Deck is passing in card count. So it's available there. So let's go ahead and do that. And what we'll do, it'll give us, here's our class deck, here's our method shuffle that we're inside, and we have the constructor passing in card count, and it's assigning it to a property called card count. If you want to just change this to something else, you can just edit it to like whatever you want it to be, number of cards, like that. And you can see everything is updated and linking and synchronous to the changes that I'm making. Okay, whenever I execute a CodeRush action that takes me away from where I start, I press escape to get back. So I've just declared deck. Let's go up here to card, and let's declare card as well. Come down here. This time there's no parameters, so it just has a declared class available. We'll select that. And CodeRush builds the card class for us. It gives us a suit of type suit, a value of type int. Those correspond to those 2 lines of codes, 2 lines of code we showed before. It gives us an insert into method passing in a deck. And now I can copy deck to the clipboard, hit enter there on that field, and now I'm inside here ready to add some code. I might come in here and say deck.insert and pass in this. Semicolon gets me out, so notice I was here. I hit the semicolon, and I jump to the end of the line. Put the caret here, hit the CodeRush key. Let's declare it. Now we're inside here. We're going to pass in card, copy that to the clipboard, and let's drop a marker here. Let's copy this to the clipboard. Let's use a template. We've talked about templates before. New list of what's on the template, what's on the clipboard, I mean, gives us a new list of cards. That template right there. You can see it down at the bottom. NL dot, and then slashes for what's on the clipboard. So new list of what's on the clipboard. We'll call this cards. And Rory, you can probably find and pop in a link to everybody who's watching of where they can find out more information on creating templates. I think we talked about it in the last webinar. Yeah. We've done a lot of webinars on it. I'll hit escape to go back to the marker I dropped, come in here and say insert cards.insert, and we'll say open paren, and it looks like it wants an index. So I'm just going to say 0, comma, and then pass in card, hit the semicolon, I'm at the end of the line, I'm done. But what if I want to make this a parameter? I can just select it, put the caret on it, and choose promote to parameter, like that. We'll call this the index, like this, hit enter. Now it's going to take us to every single call in the code and allow us to specify what that value will be. I'll just go ahead and say 0 for this one right here. Let's go over here, hit the tab key. That tab gets us to the next reference. So tab key just gets us to the next reference. We'll just reorder parameters real quickly. Put the caret here, hit the CodeRush key, choose reorder parameters. And then hit right arrow to just switch those around, and then hit enter. And now we've got index first, card second, and we can do the tab to next reference again to verify that now that's all working. So it's very, very quick. In almost all the code you've seen me write, I spent the only time my fingers were on the keyboard is when I was naming things. When I say the letter keys, when I say the keyboard, I mean the letter keys. The other times I was hitting the CodeRush key, which, like I say, I bound to num0. All right, now let's talk about working with interfaces. Here I have a class called car, and inside car I've got a method called accelerate, I've got a method called break, and I've got a method called turn. I'm going to go in here and now let's declare an interface support. So I'll just hit the CodeRush key, I'll choose extract interface for it, and there's my iCar, and you can see it grabbed all the public methods. If I don't want all the public members, rather, and if I don't want anything in here, I can just simply remove it. And if you could, just a small commercial break here, and just to contrast, if you compare this with any other tool that allows you to extract interface, all the other tools bring up a dialog that blocks your code, forces you to go through and check a checkbox under which things you want to pull across and which ones you don't. Instead, just let you do that in the code, right? If you didn't want those, you can just get rid of those. It's much faster to work simply in the code, and that's what CodeRush does. All the UI is in the code. So now inside of this car class that we have this private field called direction. Let's encapsulate that field, wrap a property around it so that people can see that publicly. Okay, consumers of car can now see what direction I'm going in. Well, I've changed the public interface. It might be useful to change the I've changed the public interface of the car class. It might be useful to also change the iCar interface. So I can put the caret on that public member that I've just added, and I can hit the CodeRush key, and I can choose Add to Interface, iCar, and now we have direction up there. I'm hitting the Tab key just to get to it. Very fast to do this kind of modification and changes, working with interfaces. All right, next we're going to talk about encapsulating methods, properties, and fields, and this is useful when you want to create composites. So up above I have that car class, and down here below I've got a new class called plane. plane has some private fields. It has a method called takeoff, a method called land. I'm just noticing inside of here in land, I've got this event handler code here where we've got this event called landed. Let me do a tab key right there. You can see there's the event handler for it right there. And this should really be in its own method, so we'll just select that. We'll do an extract method on that very quickly, and we'll pop it right down here, and we'll just call it on landed, like that. Okay, and so there's our on landed event trigger that you can see happening down in there. We might want to bump that up to protect it. If I want to make that virtual, I can just hit the letter V in the space bar right there, and it'll get me virtual. That's the V template for creating virtual pieces. It also has a turn method, and it has a public property called flight duration, and then it has that event called landed, which we already saw. So that's plane. And what I want to do is I want to create a composite. I want to combine a car with a plane and create a new flying car. So you can see I've got the start of it right here. I have two fields, one called plane and the other called car. I'm going to start with the plane field, and I'm going to hit the CodeRush key, and I'm going to choose encapsulate. Notice I have three encapsulate pieces up here. One for encapsulating methods, one for encapsulating events, and one for encapsulating properties. Let's grab that landed event and encapsulate that. We'll start with that. We'll pop it down here at the bottom. And there you can see it's called suggesting landed plane. I'm going to use, notice I use Alt-Shift-Left arrow. Alt plus the arrow keys give me camel case navigation. We talked about that before, but it allows me to very quickly get a part of that and select it and get rid of it. So now I've got my landed method. Here's how it wraps it, just like that. Hit the escape key to get back up into plane again. Come down in here. Let's encapsulate the takeoff method. Put it right here. We'll call it takeoff. And inside here we'll say is flying, and we'll say that's equal to true. Here's a template. Equals T gives me that. I'm going to copy this to clipboard. All I did is just put the caret at the beginning and hit Control Insert to copy. Control C works as well. Copies it to clipboard. Control Shift Insert, by the way, is going to bring up your clipboard history, so you can see that there. That's my clipboard history. All right, so we've done that. Hit Escape to get back. Let's go in here, encapsulate method, get a land method, pop it right there, and now we'll come in here. And now with that on the clipboard, this is on the clipboard, right? I can now type in SF, set to false, and it sets what's on the clipboard equal to false. Okay, another template. Hit Escape to get back. Let's go, let's go into car, and now let's just do a little bit inside car. Inside car, we can come in here, we can encapsulate brake, and we might do this. We might say, hey, if we are is flying, then we might want to come down here and we might want to say land, call land, like that. Something along those lines. So we can continue to do that, create that consolidation there. CodeRush makes it easy to create composites. Next, I want to talk about converting parameters into points and tuples and objects. And here I have an example of where you might want to pass in a point instead of X and Y. So all you do is you just take, and here, by the way, notice I'll hit Tab next reference here. You can see the calls to it right down there at the bottom. Okay? So we just select the two parameters, the two int or the two float parameters that we want to convert. Select the parameters like this, hit the CodeRush key, choose Convert to Point. There you can see the preview hint, what it's going to do. We'll convert it. Now we'll rename this maybe to just PT, for example, or position, or whatever we want to do, and there you can see it. All right, let's crank it up a notch. So now here I have a method called show spaceship location. And again, now we're passing in three parameters. And I have here, X, Y, and Z that I'm passing in. I can select all of those. I can convert that to tuple. And there I've just created a tuple across all of those. I can call it position, whatever I want to do there. I'm going to actually undo this for a second. And I'm going to make a change here. I'm going to come down here into Spaceship Enterprise. I'm going to grab Enterprise, just select it in the string, hit the CodeRush key, and I'm going to choose split string just to pull it out. Now that it's out, I'm not going to hit any key except for the CodeRush key. So I haven't done anything yet. I'm just going to hit the CodeRush key now. I'm going to choose promote to parameter. And now I'm going to type in name. That's me, the name of this. Notice this is Visual Studio is suggesting namespace here. I'm just going to hit escape out of that right there. And I hit enter. And now CodeRush takes me to the next piece that I might want to change. Because we've now essentially added a new parameter, it's taking me to those three other calls, and it's allowing me to make changes. So I'll keep this one here. I might change this one to Galactica. And notice what's happening. All the other ones that I haven't hit enter on yet are changing and updating as I go down, which is useful in case I want to maybe make that same change everywhere else. I could hit enter here a few times as I keep going through all the calls, And then maybe once I get to another column, I want to change it to Death Star, etc., all the way down. Once I hit enter and I'm on the last one, I'm done. Okay, and there I've finished that. The final thing I might do is I might come in here and I might just hit the CodeRush key and I might say, let's use string format, just to clean up that code, and now it looks good. Okay, decompose parameter. Oh, why am I getting this? What's going on here? Oh, because I didn't do it. I didn't, hold on, there's something I needed. Let me undo that a second. Sorry about that. Something I want to do up above. And that is right here is I want to do the last piece, which is introduce parameter object. So I'm going to select all three of those. Instead of converting it to a tuple, I'm going to choose introduce parameter object. And we'll do that. And we're going to create a new object, and that object is going to be called spaceship. Let's rename the variable here to just spaceship, and we'll rename the class to spaceship, like that. Okay, so we've now created this spaceship class. I can use tab to next reference to get to it, and there I can see CodeRush has built a struct for me. It gives me a constructor with those arguments in it. And so now instead of passing those arguments in, X, Y, Z, and name, I can now pass in a single spaceship. And it's updated all the calls for me as well by constructing new spaceships for me. Of course, now that I have these, I could select this and come in and I can say, let's introduce a new local and call this enterprise, etc., all the way down. Right now I'm working with these. Okay. So next, let's look at decompose parameter. So decompose parameter is the opposite of introduce parameter object. And so here we have a spaceship that we're passing in to this display spaceship name. Here you can see the calls here where we've got these spaceships we're creating and we're passing them in. Sometimes you don't want to pass in a big object. You want to pass in a smaller portion of a property of that object and just pass in the pieces of the object you need. This can sometimes make calls easier to consume from a wider variety of consumers. Make it easier to consume throughout your project. And so we'll come here and we'll say decompose parameter, and now we're turning spaceship into a simple string, a name that we're passing in, as an example. Let me undo that though for a second. I want to show you what happens if things get more complex. I'm going to select this expression right here. Come in and paste that in. We're going to make a small modification. We're going to say fleet. And then we're going to come over here and we're going to say fleet. Hit the CodeRush key because it doesn't exist yet. Let's declare the property with backing store. I'll put it right there. Now we have our fleet property. And if we come down over here and we hit tab to next reference, we see this. I'm going to come over here, hit the CodeRush key. Let's add initialization. So it pops it in there. There you can see the initialization right there. We gave it to put it inside the constructor. I'm going to do one more thing. I want fleet to be read-write, so I'm going to come in here, hit the CodeRush key, and choose Add Setter. Folks, I'm hitting the CodeRush key again and again and again, and I'm doing things that developers do all the time by hand. But I'm doing it quickly, and with the fewest amount of keystrokes. This allows me to essentially write code as fast as I can talk about writing code. Okay, I'm hitting escape to get back. So now we have this bit of code down here. And now we come up here, let's choose decompose parameter again one more time and see what we get. This time the preview hint shows us this. Notice the menu is blocking the preview hint. I'm just going to hold down the control key so you can now see what's happening. It's going to turn spaceship into two strings. And now we pass in two strings. So we can do that. Okay, I can now rename those, hit enter on those if I want to, and etc. Come in here, fix this, so we get rid of the squiggly underline, use string.format, etc., etc., etc. In fact, now that I see that, I probably want to put a comma here, for example. All right. Okay, next we're going to talk about extract method to type, and then I've also thrown in convert to function here. So here I have a method called getDistance from origin, and it's just doing some math here, basically getting the square root of all of this stuff squared, popping this all, putting this all together. What I can do, notice that the code I'm selecting, well, first of all, I should say this. Extract method, you can use it on expressions, on things as small as an expression. And that is, I think, sometimes it's kind of a non-intuitive way of thinking about using extract method. I think most of the time we think about using it on larger chunks of code. But it can make your code easier to read if you do that. The second thing that I wanted to say is that sometimes you have code that works on another object a lot. Like in this case, we're accessing ship X, ship Y, ship Y, etc. And what you can do when you have that code like that is you can use CodeRush, hit the CodeRush key, select the block of code, and then extract that method to the particular type. In this case, it's spaceship. So we'll do that. We're going to extract this to spaceship. We'll put it right there, and we'll call this get distance from origin. The tab key brings us right over there. Escape will bring us back to where we started. I might come over here, and I might change, select all this, just hit R space to get rid of my return, and then come over here on the return keyword, hit the CodeRush key, and now convert it to a function. Now I've just taken the void and turned it into a double right there. Okay. All right. Cascading refactoring. So CodeRush is the only tool besides Visual Studio that I know of that is able to handle this particular scenario. So if you're using a competing tool, or if you're thinking of, if you know somebody who is, you might show them source code that looks like this. This is something that the other tools do not handle, and it looks like this. I have an interface called iCar base. It's got a method turnkey and ignition. Now let's say I want to rename that. So I'm just going to hit F2 on that, and I'm going to call this, for example, start. And it renames these two in these two locations. I'm going to undo that for a minute and just move down a bit. Notice I also have a public class car with a virtual method turnkey and ignition. And I can tap to reference through those, and I can hit F2 on here to rename as well, and I can call that start. And it renames those three. Let me undo that. All right. And let's go make one change. Let's take car and have car implement iCar base. And now we'll come in here to do a rename. It doesn't matter in CodeRush whether you're going to rename, reorder parameters, etc. But notice what happens now. When this virtual method also happens to be a method of the interface, CodeRush links them all up. And like I say, only CodeRush and Visual Studio are smart enough to get this right. Now we can just call this start, for example. So just a demonstration of intelligence there in cascading refactorings. This impacts every single refactoring that CodeRush ships that changes a method signature. Let's do a quick one right here. I'm going to hit Control-Shift-Q to bring up QuickNav. I'm going to type in SS to see everything that has SS in it in uppercase. I'm going to go to Show Spaceships. And we're going to go inside here. Notice I have this called display spaceship name. We just finished writing this code. Let's just hit the CodeRush key, and we're going to choose use named arguments. Just show that refactoring very quickly. And come in here and very quickly come in and pass in named arguments instead of arguments by order. Okay. Next, let's create test cases. I'm going to create a test fixture by typing in TF, the space bar. And that gives me my new test fixture. Let's create some test cases for that card class. So we'll call this card tests, and we'll create a test called isRed that returns true if a card is a diamond or a heart. I'm just going to write some sample code here. I have prepped this in advance. Now I'm going to use a CodeRush template called AT. Type in AT, hit the space bar, and I get assert is true. I'm going to call it, type in card.isRed. Doesn't exist yet. That's okay. I'm going to hit the CodeRush key. We're going to declare it, pop it in right there, and I'm just going to return false for now. Oops. Okay, that's interesting. So RF should totally give me a return false. Let me try one more time. Maybe I have a try one more time. Did it work this time? There we go. So it looks like I was just going. The parser had not, background parser had not caught up yet. So all I did is I just, if that happens to you and you see that you're going like maybe really fast like that, just what I did is I saved the file and repeated one more time. Okay, so now we're going to come down here to our test and we're going to run it. So run the test. And you see build succeeded. Over here on the test runner, we'll bring that up so we can see that. And here you can see we've got a failure as we're expecting. We're going to go in here, we're going to tap to next reference. I'm going to write some real code in here. And there it is right there, suit diamonds, suits hearts. We'll come back over, we'll run one more time, run the test case one more time. And there's our pass right there. I wanted to show a couple things here. Let me just do this. Roy, by the way, is warning me that we're like, getting precariously close onto our time limit. But I want to show you this something here that's kind of cool. So here, let's bring this. Let's get rid of this. If I want to create a new test case, by the way, let me drop a marker here. Go to the top of the file. Notice we're using the NUnit framework here. That's because of the NUnit framework was used by the referenced by the project. Here, I'm using MS Test framework, and over here, I'm using XUnit framework. So I've got 3 different projects that all use different test case frameworks. If I want to create a new test case, all I do is I hit the letter T and space to create a new test case. Here I am in NUnit. Let's go over here into MS Test, hit T space. There's my new test method. Notice the differences. Notice, right? Let's go over here into XUnit, T space. It's the same keystrokes, and now I've got a fact over here. It doesn't matter. The same keystrokes give me the same end result regardless of what languages I'm working in, regardless of what test frameworks. When I say languages, I mean the same thing will work in C# and VB, not only for test cases, but in all the templates. We've talked about those before. So I wanted to show you those. Let me, I'll just save these and close these down to just clean this up right here. Test runner, click on this to run all. You can navigate through. I'm going to, I won't dive in that too much because we're getting low on time. Let's go over next into the Razor solutions that we have. So I wanted to show a couple things here. Let's go. Oh wait, before I do that, actually, I wanted to show duplicate detection and consolidation. What's my time? I got like 3 minutes left, but I let Rory say hi at the beginning, and that really messed me up. So let's go in and bring up the CodeRush duplicate code window. Let's do a refresh over here, and here you can see my duplicates off on the left side over here. I've got a duplicate here, duplicate here. This bar indicates that it's a duplicate. If we bring it up here and we look at it in here, let's see which one we found. So there it is right there. Okay, bring these up side by side so we can look at these, and we'll do that so you can see. These are the two duplicates. Differences, here I'm passing in a string, or I'm writing calculating max, here I'm writing calculating min. I have a variable called min, a variable called max, and the real differences down here. T is greater than max, T is less than min. So those are the differences. They're functionally similar. I'm going to now come in here and I'm going to hover over this, choose consolidate to the current class. We'll go ahead and put it right there. And we're going to give it a better name. We're going to call it find edge. Like that. And then we're just cleaning this up a little bit. Value that it gave us for the string, those are the differences there. Just type in message right there. And we're going to rename min to edge, for example. And we're going to fix the bug that we found we identified at least one. And so now we have this method called findEdge that consolidates this two, and that's what it looks like. We can clean that up if we want to. Now let's go over into Razor. So content over here. Let's bring up the CodeRush training window. And in the training window, down here, we can see I can type in AL to get an action link. So I'm just going to do that. AL like this, spacebar. Here's the code we get. We're going to call this CodeRush rocks, like that. Action name, get CodeRush, like that. Controller name, we'll just call it CodeRush Razor. That's what we'll call it. Like that. And now that I've done this, created this action link, I can come in and I can put the caret here and hit the CodeRush key, and I can choose let's declare a controller. This is the Visual Studio one, which will present a dialog, and this is the CodeRush one, which will do it without a dialog. So useful if you want to go quickly. Here I've got a CodeRush code issue showing up here. It says, hey, we can declare an MVC view. It doesn't exist yet. Let's go ahead and do it. Click on Add there. Now we've got the MVC view. And the thing I wanted to show here is let's come in here and let's bring this and bring it up. Let's bring it up in the horizontal tab group down here at the bottom. And I just wanted to show you, if we come down in this one down here and we type in AL space like this, then we get something similar, but because this is using the SPX views, we get code that looks like this. If we come down here and we type in TB for text box, you can see over here the CodeRush training window is helping out with that. We get this code. If we come over here and we type in TB for text box, we get this, right? We come over here into our XAML file. Excuse me. Oh, here we go. Let's get rid of this. Let's put this back up here so you can see more of it. Okay. Inside the XAML file, and we come in here in a location where it makes sense to put one. We type in TB here, we get a text block. So I wanted to show you this. The other thing I wanted to show you inside is just refactoring for XAML folks as well. One of the ones that I will have time for that I'm going to show you is this one. So we've got this situation here where we've got a number of elements that all have similar attributes settings. What I can do is I can go on that setting. If I wanted to change that, like say I wanted to come in here and I wanted to change this to like an awesome DevExpress orange, like that, for example. I could do that, maybe copy this to the clipboard, the piece I wanted, or excuse me, I could do that. Whoops, come down here and like I said, copy that to clipboard. But then I have to do that for each one, or do a search or replace. One of the things that might be useful is instead I can come here to this. I can hit the CodeRush key and I can choose extract to XAML resource. So I can take a particular setting and put it and replace all aspects of that setting, and we'll just call this like RDA color or RDA or something like that, and then hit enter, and that will commit the change. And now if we go over into our Solution Explorer, we should have the XAML file, and the XAML file is going to have that piece, and now I can now change it there. And come back over here. We should see that update. There we go, all the way to orange, all the way across. And, phew, okay, with that, Rory, I think I'm what? I'm like 2 minutes over, but you started me 2 minutes late, so I'm going to call that 30 minutes.
That's not bad, man.
Phew! So yeah, incredibly fast, but we got it all in, and we'll have this published, and you can watch this in slow motion, stop it, look at the key windows down there. And now, by the way, so that was 30 minutes, but I'm totally open for questions. And we can, if you want to see anything again, it doesn't matter. I'm here for as long as you guys want to ask questions.
Just while we wait for those questions, I should point out that as you've been going through, we've been adding and dropping links into the chat window there. Virtually every section you've covered has a previous webinar that goes into that area in a great deal more detail. So have a look at the links, click through, and obviously we're here for questions now, but we'll also take them happily over email and Twitter and things like that as they occur to you, so that'll be fine with us. We've got some coming in here at the moment. How do we move a method to an existing or new class is the first one.
Okay, so let's do that. Let's go into program. Now, with regards to moving methods around, we have, there's a couple things. One is you saw extract method to type, right? We did that on the spaceship. So that took code from one place and put it in another class. Another way to do it, another way is to, let me go up and find, we'll find the card class. And let's create a, actually let's go to the deck class instead. And let's create a descendant of this. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to hit the CodeRush key and I'll choose create descendant. And we're going to call this our super deck, or maybe our cheaters deck, like that. Like that. So it's a marked deck. There we go. I got the right name. So a marked deck. So there's our marked deck, and it descends from regular deck. And let's say we have a method inside of here, and the method is going to be we'll call this the cut is what we'll call this method. So it's going to cut the deck, and like that. And so what I'm thinking about something along these lines, right? So if you're talking about moving a method like up a chain, an ancestry, all you do is you hit the CodeRush key on the declaration, you choose pull member up to deck, like that, and then decide where you want to put it, and then there you've got it inside of there. So it looks like there's a little bit of reformatting that we need to do because it didn't have any code in it, but not a big deal. So that is the other moving piece that we have. If you're looking for moving from a class across to another class, it's not in the hierarchy, that has dependencies, I think we are not shipping that yet. And if you hear me saying that, then you can probably conclude that we are working on that and that we will be shipping that soon. But I'm pretty sure that is not shipping in the current version of it. So we don't have any refactor across. If that's what you're interested in, we don't have that. But we do have, if you want to get something across, we do have the ability to select code and, like I say, do the extract method too. Or we took, for example, get distance from origin, we popped this in here. So, and that works not only with an expression, but with a full-on block of code, you can do that. Okay? Hopefully that answered that question.
Yeah, indeed. There's another question here following up on your WPF extractor resource. Is there an extract all to resource?
Yeah, that's what I did. Well, if I understand correctly, that's what I actually did. When we took that and put it to resource, we actually got all of them.
So it's like creating a constant in the sense that it'll get every instance of the fixed text
Yes.
and replace it with a reference to the, in this case, the resource.
Right. Yeah, these squiggly underlines, I think Visual Studio is just not compiled yet. If we go in here and rebuild, those will go away. Let's go do that so people don't have anxiety. It's kind of interesting, right? The designer gets the color but and understands where it is, but Visual Studio does not, or the editor down here does not. Okay, so now they're all fine now. Okay, so yeah, that's what that was. So I can do this here. So like again, up at the top, I have this kind of blue color for these three. Just come up here, and I can choose extract it to XAML resource, replace all, or simply extract the XAML resource and just do one. And I can choose that existing file, or I can create a new file. So it's pretty powerful with regard to that. So you have a lot of options there.
Okay.
Any other questions?
We've got one more question here. It says, is there an easy way to move classes and things like WinForms from one folder into another folder and have the namespace get updated automatically to include the folder name? So in C#, when you make a new class, it works out the namespace it should be in based on the folder it's in. When you move something, is there a corrective process that will make the namespace continue to reflect where it is?
So not built into the product. However, there is a community plugin site here. Under DevExpress, you go into community plugins. And on the community plugin site, if we click the wiki button, we can then type in and search for folder. And we got a lot. But what is it, Rory? Help me out. 6 namespaces to folder.
There you go.
I bet that's it.
That sounds pretty good, doesn't it?
Yeah. And so this is actually a plugin that Rory and I wrote in one of our CodeRush plugin webinars. So we wrote this live. I think there's even a video showing us writing this.
I believe so, yeah. We've got a link up there alone. We'll have to fix that.
So this is something that just fixes, so this doesn't move. So what this does is you move it first, and then this fixes all the namespaces so they reflect the folders they are stored within. And it also fixes up all the references to the classes that we changed. So if that's what you're looking for, this plugin does that. And what's cool is the full source code to this plugin is available as well. Any other questions?
Why does
the TARDIS spaceship not have
4 dimensions?
4 dimensions. You know, you're right. I should have done one more dimension. I don't know. I think you could argue the dimension. All right, fine. Never mind. I'm not getting into that. And do we get all the questions answered, Rory?
I believe so. I'm just popping a couple of extra links. That was for the namespace folder sync webinar that we did. It's actually a 2-part webinar. So that'll just round off our links there.
Also, Bradley says, keep going another 30 minutes. We would love to, but we're constrained by powers more powerful than Rory and I to not continue, you know, to keep this within bite-sized chunks, at least for now. What was I going to say? But we are going to have the part 3 coming up, I think, in about 2 weeks. So we'll have a part 3 of this. So we're going to have a total of 1, 2, 3 parts of these fast-paced kinds of things that you can do with the product. And you know, the thing I want to tell you for folks who are, you know, not considering themselves experts in CodeRush yet, you want to be hitting that CodeRush key like every few seconds as you're writing code, as you're refactoring. If you're not, then chances are incredibly high that you are doing things by hand when you should be doing them automatically. And the way it works is you just put the caret on the thing you want to change, or you select the code you want to change, and then you hit the refactor key. If we don't have the fix for the thing you want and you do all the time, I consider that a design flaw, and I want to hear about it. So you can tweet about it, put the word CodeRush on it. We'll see it immediately. It pops up on my desk, pops up on Rory's desk, pops up on the developer's desk. Or you can send us email. My email is markm@devexpress.com. Say what you want, what you need. We will prioritize it and make sure we have that available. You know, presuming that you're right and that it's something that all developers need and we don't have. Okay. So when will part 1 be available for offline viewing? It should already be available. Oh yeah, there we go.
Just trying to find that.
Trying to find it. Okay. Bradley says, so why is my name the only one you ever say out loud? You're right. Daniel does not ask that question. Neither does Paul. All right. What else we got? It looks like we are we done? Are we done? Have we answered all the questions? It looks like we've answered all of them.
Looks
You
good,
have
yeah.
answered all the questions.
Okay. All right, folks. Amanda, you can take us out of here.
Awesome. Thank you both. All right, like Mark mentioned, we do have one more session in this Evaluating CodeRush webinar series to help you get up and running with CodeRush. You can simply visit devexpress.com/webinars to register. Just click on Mark's beautiful face. You'll see it there. The next webinar is April 26th at 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, getting the most from your CodeRush investment. Learn how to move from being a basic user of CodeRush to experiencing more advanced functionality and benefits. Learn directly from the engineers who build CodeRush. They'll allow plenty of time for Q&A and show how to configure CodeRush to wrap around the way you work. They'll also build templates, create shortcut bindings, work with context, create selection embeddings, and build a plugin. Whoa, that's a lot. All right, so learn how to accelerate productivity, build stunning apps, and work faster and smarter than ever before with DX2. And again, if you haven't downloaded and tried DX2 yet, you can download and try it for free today. Just go to devexpress.com. Again, thanks so much to Mark and Rory, and of course, thank you all for joining us. Let's see what develops.